This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is the easiest way for musicians to get their music into all the platforms: Amazon, Apple, Tidal, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Plus, you've got unlimited uploads, and the artist keeps 100% of what they make. But what I love most about DistroKid is their app. The design of it just makes the whole process so easy. Now you can be sure that you're doing everything you need to do to get your music out there. Go to distrokid.com to check it out or download the app now.
Allow me to live and breathe like a man.
You've heard his words on classic albums like Pacific Ocean Blue and Friends. His 1969 collaboration with Brian Wilson, A World of Peace Must Come, gained almost legendary status as one of pop's most storied lost albums before being resurrected to great acclaim by Light in the Attic in 2008. Now you're cordially invited to take a trip into the mind of poet and songwriter Stephen J. Kalinich. Heyday Again Records presents I Love My Life, a postcard from one of the last standing poets of peace and excitation. Order your copy today. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich and Friends. You'll see why heavy hitters like Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Paul McCartney, Steve Cropper, P.F. Sloan, and Diana Ross have all worked with him. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich. Order today at realgonemusic.com. Again, that's realgonemusic.com. The second single from Future Prophet Records is here. Birthday Girl presents Never the Sound, available right now on Future Prophet Records. That's Future, Prophet, records.com. Order now.
It's funny, I have nothing bad to say about any of them that I can think of.
You don't have the biggest asshole you ever worked with?
I had a tough time. He asked if he could have lunch with me, and he and I were really close. We did pal around. I really helped him from a spiritual standpoint. Just, he knew I was a gigantic fan, and when he finally got to Warner's, he would call me because he hadn't been in the studio for years. He was unsure of certain things, and that's no good for him. And so he came down with 5 songs that he had done all himself, which scared the hell out of me.
Why did it scare you?
Because usually when you do that, it's not going to be as good.
Welcome to another episode of Discograffiti's wildly in-depth Beach Boys series and Your Dreams Come True, where Brian Wilson freaks like you and me get our chance to delve deep into the barely believable history and prodigious discography of my favorite band of all time, and also coincidentally the best, along with a slew of over 50 top-shelf guests, ranging from musicians inspired by their work, family members, documentary directors, songwriting collaborators, Beach Boys authors, producers, touring band members, and for good measure, some of the Beach Boys themselves. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and special thanks goes out to co-producers Chuck Granata, Dennis Dyken, and Mark Freed, without whom this series would not have happened. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on the career of legendary producer and studio head Lenny Waronker, along with our special guest, the man himself, Lenny Waronker. Initially intended solely as a deep dive discussion on Van Dyke Park's majestic debut record Song Cycle, the first album Lenny ever produced, this, of course, turned into something else entirely, a 5.5-hour career-spanning interview with one of the kindest, most honest and vulnerable human beings who ever set foot in the music industry. Initially also intended as part of our Beach Boys and Your Dreams Come True series, it felt far too important not to stand on its own. This is part 3, focusing on Lenny's time breathing rarefied air as a studio head while he ran Warner Brothers Records and DreamWorks. Here are just a few of the many things that Lenny discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. The A&R Dream Team that Lenny assembled to sign talent for Warner Brothers in the early 1970s, grievances about his time at DreamWorks, thoughts on becoming close to the artists with whom he worked, tales from the trenches with Elvis Costello and Gordon Lightfoot, Lenny's love life, the biggest asshole he's ever worked with, and a lengthy conversational outro that stands alone in the annals of Discograffiti history. Coming up, we've got incredible deep dive series on Spirit, Love, Jefferson Airplane, and a hell of a lot more. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. For over 4 years now, Discograffiti's Friday episodes have been completely free, and it's been my pleasure. But for a variety of reasons, Discograffiti's now moved to the subscription-based Patreon as our primary platform. Moving forward, our public stream will feature a teaser of the Friday episode and a Tuesday teaser of the bonus episode, and that's all. But here's the good news. Only $5 a month will get you the weekly Friday podcast to which you become accustomed. That's it. It's a no-brainer at just $1 an episode. And just that little bit will be what's required to help the show survive. To sweeten the pot, you'll also get regular installments of the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's Rudy Fishman's podcast within a podcast featuring our Patreon members as guests. You'll also get access to over 100 back episodes of that show. The $10 Lieutenant tier gets you all that, plus access to half of the Patreon archive. That's hundreds of additional episodes, plus copies of my personal show notes, which include invaluable research, star ratings, and reviews. But the $20 major tier is the place to be, unless you can support the show on even higher tiers, which, if you can afford it, offers substantial perks, including advertising on the show and selecting the guests and artists I cover. With the major tier and above, you get it all. The Monday bonus episodes, aka the best stuff, the Friday show, the Soldiers of Sound podcast, plus access to the entire archive. That's many hundreds of Patreon episodes, an absolutely endless barrage of music entertainment, including 50 episodes of The Private Press with Paul Major, Rock Cousteau, Queasy Listening, and so much more. This tier will also be the only way to access the entire upcoming Spirit series, the entire Love series, the entire Lenny Waronker series, and the entire Jefferson Airplane series. Frankly, it'll keep you busy for the rest of your life. So support the podcast that's been supporting you for years. Discograffiti's calling, and it needs you. So don't risk feeling guilty by not giving. But enough of me yapping. Go on, subscribe now. Visit patreon.com/discograffiti and find the tier that's right for you. And away we go then. So you obviously went on to have a wildly successful career, after kicking it off, especially with a record that sold bupkis, and yet it's the one of which you're most proud. You were made head of Warner's A&R department in the early 70s. You assembled what's roundly considered to be the greatest A&R team ever. Russ Titleman, John Cale, Ted Templeman, Gary Katz, Tommy LaPuma, the list goes on.
Yeah, it was a hell of a group.
Then in 82, Mo Austin made you president of Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, 82, 83, something like that.
And in the mid-90s, you and Mo left Warner's to launch DreamWorks Records.
Right. That was a political issue.
Were those not good times once you were there?
The year before, not that the Grammys mean that much to me, but we won 19 Grammys, and it wasn't based on one artist. I think there were 4 or 5.
You're saying at Warner's?
Yeah, early 90s. And I remember 2 things. One, sitting in that auditorium. It was in L.A., and Mo was on the aisle. It was like he had a racing form or something because he liked to write things down. Yeah, mark the winners. So after each award, which it seemed like we won everything. I don't know how this happened. Just somebody with a mean personality or something had a seat at Mo on the aisle. Then you had, I'm not sure if Tommy Mottola was there or not, but 3 people from Sony or Columbia or whatever the hell they were, and then me. So I'd lean down after each one and I said, "How many?" And I'm not the type of person that was necessarily trying to be a smart ass.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but I did do that. And it was 19, after we won the record of the year or whatever. It was insane. And I remember afterwards, we ended up at Chasen's. Mo was sitting at a table with some of the corporate guys. And I said to Mo, "Jesus, I mean, what do we do next? 19 of those things. Not that it matters.
It does, though.
Yeah, and a year later, we were gone.
Was it movement for the sake of movement because careers
No.
supposed to go that way? So what was it?
It was an internal battle. Steve Ross loved Mo. Steve Ross was, of all those big guys, he clearly was the best one. He had a heart. He understood the creative process. He had relationships with directors and Paul Simon. If Mo ever needed him, he was there. He was terrific. I mean, an amazing guy. But he died. And before he had died, Warner put out their yearly whatever, and it showed all the employees. And in Bob Morgado's case, it said head of music. Mo read that, and first of all, they couldn't do it without talking to Mo first. He had something in his contract that allowed him to have some say. And so he was livid. And he called Steve, he wasn't the type of executive who shut you down if you were angry. He was very smart about that. He'd let you do your thing, and then he'd try to respond as best he could. And what he said to Mo, and it was pretty solid, was, Mo, I'm running this company. Bob Morgado is not your boss. I'm your boss. So forget it. We have to park him in some place. And I felt like it was the easiest place to park him.
Yeah.
Steve died. After it had come out. And Morgado knew that Mo was angry. And Morgado's a mean man. He's in the Landy. He's up there. He loses to Landy. He wasn't that bad, but
right.
Coming from the same place. So you had this corporate guy. And as soon as he got his power, when they made him the head of music, when Jerry Levin came in from Time and became the head, he didn't do his homework. He didn't know what was going on in the music division. That the only one that was really, really consistent was Mo. Bob Krasno was doing well at Elektra too. Atlantic was struggling a bit, but Morgado took on Mo, and that was the end. Morgado's a farmer somewhere. Yeah.
What was the peak moment of your career? Was there a moment, even if it wouldn't make sense as a moment to somebody else, where you kind of looked around and reminded yourself to drink it in, that it was not going to get any better than that moment?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of occasions, but I tried not to, when you get a hit record, I don't care who you are. If you're involved in a hit record, it feels good. It may only feel good for a day. Mm-hmm. Feels good. In my case, it lasted for 2 to 3 weeks. And in those 2 to 3 weeks, I was feeling good. And then I get back to me.
The hole would open back up again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those were the moments.
2 to 3 weeks is great. I wish I could find something that would give me that rosy glow for that long.
Yeah. Well, when I had radio and MTV to support me in terms of, reminding me, when you're hearing your own record on the radio, for somebody like me who grew up with the radio, was a big deal. Big deal.
What were those couple moments, though? Because obviously you're not really giving too much of a shit that you won 19 Grammys. So it must be different than what somebody else's moments would be. All right, that about does it. To hear the full episode, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either subscribe as a private or higher, or just purchase it as a one-off. If you are a fan of the show, please do one of those two to help ensure Discograffiti's continued existence. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the tale of, without question, one of the most batshit crazy concept albums ever made. One of my favorite pockets of what the fuckedness I've ever come across in all my days. Inspired by an offhanded Julia Childs remark and bucket loads of LSD. That's right, it's Spirit's Potato Land. If you count yourself as a true music fan, then it's not to be missed. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then, come Tuesday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Tuesday's bonus episode is the next part of our Spirit series, in which we take a full-fledged gander at Randy California's intensely personal response to the bicentennial, the sprawling double LP Spirit of 76. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Tuesday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Lenny Waronker, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, and access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into the classic rock and roll from the 1960s is to go to the Beach Boys Season 1, Catch a Wave, 1961 to 1964, from episode 189 on, the Righteous Brothers Bill Medley interview, that's 181 and 182, my interview with the Free Design, that's 160 to 162, my epic interview with the Mamas and Papas Michelle Phillips, that's 141 to 159, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, that's 137, my 12-hour interview with Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander from the Association, that's 109 to 113, Vashti Bunyan reading her entire output, that's 103 to 104. Sergio Diaz from Os Mutantes, that's 86 and 87. Bert Summer, that's 83 and 84. Sweetwater is episode 79. A tribute to David Crosby, 77 and 78. Andrew Tuttle rates the Monks, 74. Jim Florentine on Black Sabbath is 64 to 68. Lou Barlow on the Zombies is 59 and 60. Marvin Gaye biographer David Ritz rates Marvin Gaye, that's 45 to 47. Blind Faith is 43. Anthony Fantano rates the Velvet Underground, it's 32 and 33. Bob Forrest rates the band is 25 and 27. Monkees manager Andrew Sandoval rates the Monkees, that's 22 and 23. Don Randy rates David Axelrod as 17. Badfinger is 16. The Bee Gees is 10 and 11. Sly and the Family Stone is 5, 6, and 7. And Pink Floyd is 1 and 2. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, February 13th, just in time for Valentine's Day, because this one's for all the lovers out there, we're coming at you with the greatest potato-related rock opera ever created, Spirit's Potato Land. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!